So what we were discussing is the learning outcome of the course. So you have to have the broad understanding of what can be achieved in data analytics and how to apply data analytics to business problems. And that also we discussed with some examples. Different techniques we have discussed, different techniques available you to the mine data. So getting patterns out of the data, and then the managing data driven projects. So we discuss how you are going to handle data driven project and what are the phases you have. And then graphics and visualizations in data mining, data representation, we have seen that different ways of representing the data. And then broad issues, trust and ethical issues around algorithmic decision making. So that also we briefly discussed. So these are the things that we actually expect from you. So basically in the first sections, we discuss what a data mining is, basically extracting the pattern from the data. Right. So this is the data mining process model that we have discussed. So remember we discussed we can use handling data mining projects. So there are different processes available. We discussed briefly this CRISP-DM data mining process model, where we have 6 different phases. And then we also discuss the machine learning. That is actually in machine learning we focus on the more on improving the accuracies of the algorithms. So that part also we discuss. And then we actually look at a couple of examples, right? So then we discuss different applications available in data mining, and then data mining ethics. So this is the questions that earlier, the third question from the first one. So what do you mean by ethical questions? Because in data mining and data analytics, techniques, people could use to discriminate based on different things such as their person's religion, race, and so on. So this is, you have to be very careful. It's unethical. And then, but if you look at this, their gender, religion, and race is ethical, depending on the application. So this particular information is valid and ethical to use in medical application, but it might not be ethical in business applications, right? So that's what you have to be very careful when you're analyzing the data. So sometimes you should not use some of the information such as gender, religion, and race to discriminate people. So that is the ethical condition. But the same thing could be used in medical applications. But that's ethical because, like, depend on different gender, for example, there are tendency to gender could be used to separate out the different ways of handling medical information. So the first one actually asks you in that one. So we discussed this part. So basically you can talk about in how in practical applications you have to, when you're using some information, you have to be very careful. So it will not be, it will be unethical to use some of the attributes. Okay, so that's the first note. And the second note, actually, we discuss the basic algorithms that we have discussed. So that is the first question, analyzing classification, clustering, and association learning, right? So basically, we discuss, there are few different techniques available in data mining as well as data analytics. One is we call classification problem. That means you are going to predict a particular what we call the class attribute, right? For example, in whether problem, but we have handled is whether to play a particular game or not, right? So that's called classification. And then association learning is you identify the associations among the attributes. Now in previous one classification you focus on particular attribute, but in association you can actually identify the association among the different attributes. So that's called association. Then third, we have clustering. In clustering, what we try to do is try to identify similar groupings in the data, right? So there's no like particular class attribute as such. So you look at similar grouping. Now, for example, you can, categorize, cluster your customers. Right? You can look at like customer groupings in the data. So that is called clustering. And finally, the fourth problem is numeric prediction, whereas sometimes the output is not a label, but a numerical value. Like, so stock market, for example, you have to predict the stock value, for example. So that is a numerical quantity. So these are the four different techniques or four different types of learning used in data mining or data analytics applications. So hopefully that will give you the answer for the first one as well. Second one, actually, you can take your own example whether the data analytics is crucial to success of a business. So you can say yes and no both, depends on the type of the business, right? So if we can use data to make the decision in the business, yes, then you can actually use data analytics, because we discuss different techniques such as classification, clustering, association learning. So you can use these techniques in different context, right? Depending on the business requirement, and that's how the nowadays businesses make decisions. So they use these techniques as a business support systems, so that this data could use for making better decisions. Right, so let's move on to the classification. There's a question to discuss the questions on the classification. Yes, that's the plan. So first of all, let me start with the first one. So the data set is actually given to you, and so we have a class attribute. So this is actually basically classification problem. A data set given with we have to identify the class attribute enjoy meal. First one, part A, is 1R. Right, if you do not remember what 1R is, let me quickly go through this. Basically 1R means it uses one particular attribute. So we actually identify attributes with the highest accuracy, right? So how you are going to get the 1R is you are actually going to create branches for each attribute value, right? So how do you do this? So basically we look at, for example, each of these attributes, and we consider attribute values. So if you remember, what you have to do is basically we have to look at outlook. Outlook, we have three different values. So basically we have outlook, and for each attribute value we look at the frequent class. For example, in our example data set we have discussed in the class, we use outlook. There are three values: sunny, overcast, and rainy, right? So let's look at sunny. So you know that when it comes to sunny, you look at the class attribute, that is play. So sunny is no. Second one, sunny, again no. And then here we have sunny, it's again no, right? And then fourth one, sunny, is yes. Fifth one, sunny, is yes. So frequent class is no, so we put sunny no, and then we calculate the error rate. So the error rate is So you have 2 out of 5 instances are incorrect, right? So that is the error for this particular rule. So likewise, you perform this to other attributes as well. So overcast, the frequent class is yes. So all the classes are, the error is actually 0 out of 4. And rainy, again the frequent class is yes. And then the error is 2 out of 5, right? So altogether we have 14 instances. Errors is 4, so we get 14 out of 4 out of 14. So you repeat this process for all the attributes, and then you select the attribute with the minimum error, right? Minimum error. So in this particular case, we have either Outlook or Humanity we can select, right? So let's look at in this particular example as well. So what will happen here? We have a couple of algorithms. Can you perform the 1 hour? Different values. Main course we have beef, vegetarian, and chicken, 3 values. Dessert we have ice cream, fruit, and the chocolate cake. Drink we have beer, lemonade, and coffee and wine. And then this is the class attribute. So each of these values we have to create a row. So let's start with the first one. So we can have different values. We have main course. So if it is beef, main course when is beef, what is the frequent class? You can have false here. Here we have true, true, and false, 2 out of 4, right? So let me use true, and the error rate is 2 out of 4. So likewise, vegetarian. So vegetarian. So we have true, we have false, and then we have again true. So the frequent class is true. Error is 1/3. Then we have chicken. Chicken also you can look at it here. We have true, false, true. Again we have true, right? So in that particular case, we can say the error is we have 3 and only 1 is false. So again 3. So total error for main course is, then we have 2, 3, 4 divided by we have 10, right? So if you do the same thing for other 2 attributes, dessert and drink, you can calculate this total error, and then we have to select one attribute with the minimum error, right? Right? Can one of you tell me which one gives us the least error? This one. So this is exactly what you have to do. So you have to find out for each attribute. We come up with a set of rules, and then we find out the errors, and then we calculate the total error. And then out of this total error, we find out one single attribute which gives us the least error, right? So in this particular example, actually there are ties. Ties means we have Outlook also give 4 out of 14. Humid also 4 out of 14. So whenever that you have a tie like this, you can actually take one of them randomly. So in this particular case, we'll take it as Outlook. So if you do this for dessert, you should get 4 out of 10. I'll move on, right? So whenever you have a ties,